You're probably wondering what The Last Defense Academy is. The 100 Line is a game that forces you to spend 100 days locked inside of a school building. This building is the Last Defense Academy, and you have to protect humanity without knowing what you're protecting them from, why you're protecting them, or how to protect them at all. And when I say it can be weird, I mean it can be weird. This game had its own sequel release on the same day it released. I didn't really know what I was in for, and when I bought the 100 Line, I still didn't. If I'm completely honest, it just had cool box art. But I rolled the credits, ready to move on to a new game, only to find out that the 40 hours I had just spent was merely the introduction. Not only did I feel betrayed by how long to beat, but I also had a stroke when my game became a sequel as a big fat 2 appeared on the front logo. Everything about the 100 Line Last Defense Academy made my head spin. Not only because of the scope of the game, but also because I was playing it in a spinny chair. I don't play visual novels. I'm not that type of gamer, but I hadn't seen anyone playing this game before when I started it, and all I'd seen were trailers. This isn't a mystery as to why, it's because I started it on release dates, which I took as kind of a gamble, because games releasing in playable states these days are getting rarer and rarer. All I'll say is that based on the trailers, it looked good. Exactly my type of good. I was tricked into buying the 100 Line. I have no shame in saying that, really. I didn't realize it was a visual novel. Usually I'd be mad for being misled, but this time I'm actually grateful because I think I just played one of my favorite games. So yeah, it is a visual novel. The tactics aspect is around 5% of the game, but believe me when I say I had no time to be discouraged, because the story hooks you basically immediately, with like 5,000 unanswered questions, and if you don't believe me, you can try the demo. I'm not gonna lie to your face and say that I fell in love with the characters immediately, because when you wake up in a classroom with no recollection of how you got there, I did not give a flying fuck about them. They just oozed too much cringe. A stereotypical anime buff guy, a self-degrading small guy, a vomiting mechanic, and a mysterious woman. She was kinda cool actually. The game does make you love them over time, but for people just starting out like myself, it makes you want to kill this guy the longer he speaks. That is an option, actually. You see, one of the main appeals to the 100 Line is the 100 endings that this game boasts. This is not referring to varying ending cutscenes, whether you get a good or bad ending. No, there are 100 unique, fully fleshed out endings that alter dramatically. You can live happily ever after, or you can start a cult. That's not a joke. I'm not the gamer that 100% games, or even one that likes to get multiple endings. One is usually enough for me, but there's a problem here. I played the game. I had practically no decisions to make, causing me to wonder how the hell there would be 100 endings. Well, they are actually unlocked in the 100 Line Last Defense Academy 2. Its explanation is actually much more understandable once you find out why it exists. So once you beat part 1, which I thought was the full game by the way, your character has to travel back in time to the start of the game to stop the events from part 1 from happening. This is where it gets interesting and you make lots of decisions. This part of the game is called the sequel because it plays so differently, and it is your second time going through the 100 days. More on the actual story later. But this time, instead of following a story in typical JRPG fashion, you make your own. You know those traitors you find out later on? Well, you can expose them immediately. You can use your knowledge from the future. You know everyone's secrets and can choose to act on them or not. And as with all media that plays with time, changing the past changes the future. So be cautious. You're probably sat there wondering what this weird game actually is all about. You play as Takumi, who is living in a weird version of Tokyo, which does not have a sky for some strange reason. It's called the Tokyo Residential Complex, and is an isolated city located in a dome. This is not explained initially, and you are thrown into this world as if it is normal. Again, an example of how the game hooks you with questions. After monsters attack and you're forced to stab yourself with a dagger in order to save your friend, you know, normal stuff. Your world turns upside down and everything becomes even stranger, not only to you, but also now Takumi. He awakes in the classroom with no recollection of how he got there, surrounded by other students in the same situation. The students are told that they must protect the school, known as the Last Defense Academy, for 100 days in order to save humanity. No further context is given, except for this guy, who is basically your teacher and shows you how to use Hemoanima, which is basically just superpower juice, until he dies on day 7. You are then in the complete dark for the last 93 days and must find your own solutions and explanations. By the way, if you were wondering, yes, you can save his life in the sequel. You play day to day, living your life, getting to know your classmates, fighting waves of enemies that try to attack the school, and on the side, you try to solve the mystery that is your predicament, and if anything will actually happen on day 100. Because why should you trust the people that kidnapped you and forced you to fight? So, cool story, right? The characters, as I said before, are easily hateable, but after spending time with them, they aren't so bad. The buff guy is actually super kind. The self-degrading guy learns not to be. The vomiting girl gets a car, so she doesn't have to you know, be visible when she vomits. And the mysterious woman gets less mysterious. The longer I played the game, the more I started to love it. There are 3 sides to the 100 line: combat, dialogue, and everything else. Everything else basically consists of lots of what felt like experimental stuff, for example, janky runaway sequences, but the combat is what I really wanted to talk about. There are difficulty settings in case you're worried about that, but I'm also wanted to talk about the idea of it itself, because it felt so unique to this game. Unique is a word that's thrown around so often that we are kind of desensitized to the word, but I mean it to its fullest value. The last defense academy you seek to defend contains drones, which can revive characters so long as they die within the school grounds. This means that death is actually incentivized. When a character is low on health, they can perform a sacrificial special attack, which kills themselves in the process, not consuming your AP, and boosts special attacks for other characters. AP is a currency used to perform an action, and you usually get about 4 to 6 per turn, which makes it very valuable. So death is actually incentivized, and not only that, the drones revive those characters ready for the next wave. Genuinely, I'm not sure why, but this mechanic just works so well. Blending with the gameplay of normal attacks and moving around other characters which each feel unique, the combat was just awesome. I earlier compared it to Fire Emblem, and bearing in mind I've only played the Switch installments, I'd say this combat is actually better than that. The different classes don't mean slightly different classes like Sword Fighter, Mage, etc. They mean different classes. A motorbike bruiser, a mech, a literal car, a sniper, an evil looking devil, a trapper, a knife throwing assassin, a boxer, a samurai that's in love with her sword, and that's not even all of them. After an event that contains spoilers, you end up with a team of 15, which somehow works. Blu-ray, give the 100 line Last Defense Academy a score of worth your time out of 10. Thank you for watching.